How's he? Is he getting back in fighting shape, so to speak?
I would say he was just coming, see if he wanted to work with Ryder Shield, because I don't know if they are real deal, messing with each other. But no, the boy on point. The boy is sharp. Also, like, he one of my favorite fighters. We had went on a run together, so I'm running 5 miles with him, and on the way halfway through, we started talking, and no matter what, to me, boxing is 90% mental. So we was talking back and forth. He was telling me pretty much what his head at, and like mentally, he is definitely there, and he's definitely ready. And whoever he fighting next, they in trouble.
And that inactivity, sometimes it plays a part in these kind of fights. Tell me why you think EJ is ready to take on a challenge like Tim Tszyu.
Because of his work ethic. Simple as that. When he came into the gym, he was still his main thing was to outwork everyone. So you ought to know, I'm watching that now. I got to outwork him, but it's just like he's 36 years old. Like you said, he took 3 years off. He's supposed to be the older guy, the old cat who can't, the car wreck, everything happens on. So he's supposed to be off of his game. But no, he's still pushing the pace, and not even just pushing it, but looking sharp while doing it. So no, that break that he took, and then like the conversation we was having, he needed that break to begin with.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got some very important things to break down when it comes to Brian Norman Jr., an interview that he just went and did today with Brian Custer on The Last Stand. Shout out to him. The video that you guys just heard was Brian Norman Jr. confirming how Errol Spence Jr. is looking, how his mindset is, what he does inside the gym, pushing. Brian Norman Jr. coming into the gym and letting everybody know he's the top dog, trying to outwork everybody. Brian Norman Jr. saying he notices this. He tries to work out. He tries to outwork Errol. And Earl's 36 years old. Brian Norman Jr. basically confirms that everything is looking fantastic for Errol Spence as he looks to return this summer against Tim Tszyu. And I think that's very important. Somebody like Brian Norman Jr., who I don't know if he's capping, right? But I'll take his word for it as he speaks with Brian Custer and explains Errol Spence is looking mentally and physically sharp. Just the other day, you had Robert Garcia and a video go absolutely viral of him talking down on Errol the True Spence Jr. You can't lie, man. He was talking down on him, and I know whether or not anything or any hard feelings have to do with Mikey Garcia, his brother. He says it doesn't. I don't know. We got to take his word for it. He says he doesn't. But he had some things to say about Errol Spence, and I've heard many different takes on it. I've heard some people say, wow, Robert Garcia is a very experienced guy in the world of boxing, one of the best trainers, future Hall of Fame trainer. The dude knows what he's talking about. The dude has been around, seen a lot of different things, and knows what he's talking about. Then you had the other side of the boxing world say, Robert Garcia is delusional. That's absolute disrespect. How can you disrespect Errol the True Spence Jr. like that? Robert Garcia. Well, first, let's play the video.
Errol Spence, we don't know. If we get the young Errol Spence that was doing great at welterweight, then Errol Spence should be able to dominate. But honestly, I don't know. It's tough to say we're gonna have the new Errol Spence. Errol Spence might not have anything left. He might not have anything left, and that's probably the what I think, that he doesn't have much left. And if I was forced to make a prediction right now, I think Errol Spence has nothing left, and it'll be Tim Tszyu.
Wow. A lot of people had a lot of things to say, right? Personally, me, Errol Spence Jr., everything that happened to him with the car crash, the detached retina, the Pacquiao fight getting canceled, coming back, fighting Godinez Ugas, then fighting Terrence Bud Crawford a year and 3 months later, getting finished the way that he got finished in a fight that I thought was gonna go the distance. I bet on the over. I bet on the over for that fight. I said to myself, I think it's possible that Errol Spence is good enough and Terrence Bud Crawford is good enough that it's gonna be a technically great fight. and neither fighter will end up knocking each other out. Well, I was completely wrong about that. Terrence Bud Crawford went in there and obliterated Spence. Spence takes what's gonna be, by the time he comes back and fights Tim Tszyu, a 3-year layoff. Brian Norman Jr. says while he was running with Errol Spence was breaking down his mentality to him, where he is, his headspace, the way he's thinking, the future. And Brian Norman Jr. says, he's good. This dude is good. I'm telling you guys right now. Whoever is his next opponent is gonna be in a world of hurt. They're gonna have a lot of problems dealing with Errol Spence Jr. And I'll tell you what, man, I don't agree with Robert Garcia when it comes to the wash talk. Errol Spence Jr. being washed, you know, him taking this fight, the tuna fight, because maybe he got nothing left in him. You know, instead of taking off a 3-year layoff, instead of coming back and fighting a top dog, because he's fighting Tim Tszyu, he's washed. I mean, we just seen Jerome Dennis not even take off a goddamn layoff, a 3-year layoff like Errol the True Spence Jr. and fight a goddamn bucket in Usuma Lima. Yet, Robert Garcia, you know, ain't talking about somebody being washed when it comes to that. Look it, man. I think Errol the True Spence Jr. is going to come in and absolutely beat Tim Tszyu. I truly do believe it. If what Brian Norman Jr. is saying is the real deal, and this long layoff that Errol the True Spence Jr. took did benefit him, and he did need it, and now it's coming in a rejuvenated, young, not young, but mentally straight mindset, then I do think Errol the True Spence Jr. has what it takes to not only beat Tim Tszyu, but compete with some of the active fighters in the 154-pound division as we speak. Now, can I be completely wrong, and can Robert Garcia be completely right? He's 36 years old. He's coming back. If the dude loses to Tim Tszyu, or gets rocked by Tim Tszyu, or gets knocked out by Tim Tszyu, then Robert Garcia would have been completely right. Completely right. I guess it's all going to matter on when the fight takes place with Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu. Now, we got another take from Brian Norman Jr. Brian Custer asks him about Brian Norman Sr. and an interview that he did with Mill City. Brian Norman Sr. and not only him, during that week, I believe, what was it, like 5 or 6 days before that, Ryan Garcia's father, Henry Garcia, also came out with an conspiracy. And Brian Norman Sr. says, there's big rumors out there that Devin the Dream Haney is microdosing. Henry Garcia bringing up Victor Conte and all that. I got those old clips for you. Check it out.
And I'm gonna tell y'all this if you don't know. There's rumors that Devin Haney is microdose. Like major rumors in Florida. I told you about this. There's rumors that he microdoses when he's not fighting. There's rumors that it's a whole, he got a whole fucking section IB. I've had people tell me the whole fucking break.
I'm starting to think that the embarrassment that the Haneys had and the connection he had with, rest in peace, Victor Conte, I think there was something there, something behind it. They had to cover up that embarrassment.
Wow. At the end of the day, they're just conspiracies. And I think this basically, we talked about this many times, it explains the reason why Brian Norman Jr. is no longer training, is no longer with his father, Brian Norman Sr., has his father as his head coach, because of the things that comes out of Brian Norman Sr.'s mouth. Brian Custer asks Brian Norman Jr. his take on what his father had to say. Check out what Brian Norman Jr. had to say.
I know you've probably seen this interview, but your father recently did an interview and said he has gotten word that Devin Haney, he says, has been microdosing when he's not fighting. Did you see that interview? Do you believe that as well?
Yes, I did see that interview, and I don't believe in rumors. I believe in facts. So we don't have nothing on that. So that's on that. That's on them.
Don't you see it? Him and his father are completely two different types of people. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, man. I absolutely respect the move that Brian Norman Jr. has made. Traveling from Atlanta to Houston, training now under Ronnie Shields. And not only training under Ronnie Shields, getting working with Earl the True Spence, getting working in a whole different environment. Even talks about his training camp. That the first day he stepped into the training camp, Ronnie Shields told him to shadow box in front of him. He started shadow boxing, started throwing a bunch of combinations, a bunch of flurries. And Shields told him, stop. Everything that you came in here with, I don't want you to do that. We're going to teach you timing. We're going to teach you skills. And we're going to teach you how to get better. Brian Norman Jr. ain't the type of dude that is out here trying to conspiracize, trying to look for clout, and continue on dwelling over the Devin Haney loss, looking for excuses, looking at other past fights, excuses to be able to reimburse yours. Exactly what Brian Norman Sr. did, and exactly what Henry Garcia is trying to attempt. Telling you right now, bro, Brian Norman Jr. seems to be having his head in the right place, and I'm absolutely impressed with this interview that he gave Brian Custer. The dude seems like he's mentally clear. He seems like he's actually in a better environment and not surrounded by goddamn hooligans, man. Which at the end of the day, that's the best thing that could happen, especially in your career when you're looking to get better and you're still young. And you're still young, man. Great interview by Brian Custer. We got a lot of things to talk about. He's coming back on May 16th. May 16th, Brian Norman Jr. is returning to the 147-pound division. The question is, who is it going to be against? All we know is that his head trainer is Ronnie Shields heading into it. May 16th? Hey, we're already in April. We should be getting a fight announcement really soon when it comes to Brian Norman Jr. But let me know what you guys think. This is the MMA Boxing Addict channel, bringing it to you, and I'm